Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to the Chair Sessions with Dr. D. Today's guest on the line with us from Bloomington, Illinois, is Matthew 𝐾𝐿. Matt is a multi-talented singer, songwriter, and guitarist whose music blends rock, blues, and Americana. He's opened for a number of major headliners, including the Doobie Brothers, Steve Miller Band, Journey, and Peter Frampton. Today, Matt is going to talk with us about his musical journey, life on the road, and his newly released album, One for the Ride, which was just released in January. Welcome aboard, Matt.
Hey, Darren. Thanks so much for having me. It's a real pleasure to be a part of the show.
Thanks for coming on today. So we've got a lot to talk about. I was looking over your tour schedule. And so before we get into the tour and the album, just a little brief crash course for our listeners, especially people who might be tuning in for the first time and hearing your name. How did your musical journey start? I was reading or saw a video interview. 4 years old, learning guitar from your dad?
Yeah, that is correct. I started when I was 4 via encouragement from my father. He was a guitar player as well, not professionally, just would sit around the living room and pick on his acoustic guitar. And I remember before getting a guitar, I think it was for Christmas or something, just laying in my bedroom as a child and just hearing the sound of his acoustic coming from the living room and just kind of being infatuated with it. And so I'd go out and just sit on the floor and watch him play. And my mother and him took notice to that. And so they bought both me and my brother these little, I think they were First Act was the brand. It's like a Walmart brand, small scale acoustic guitar. I was hooked immediately. Shortly after, probably started taking lessons. And, I was very fortunate that my father was very well connected in the local music scene here in central Illinois. He had a lot of great friends that played in, mostly cover bands, but they were doing some original stuff too. Lots of blues, lots of Southern rock, stuff like that. And also some more like acoustic-based music as well. So, and I kind of got a very early start in learning the ins and outs of playing guitar from there.
As far as early influences, what was your dad listening to? Like, what were you hearing? What was being played?
Again, I feel super fortunate in that regard because he had a very wide musical palette. There was, some of my earliest musical memories were things that really grabbed me, that made me go, what is this? Believe it or not, because I don't know how much it necessarily reflects in my music and stuff today, but some of the earliest I can recall are James Taylor, the Beatles, of course Leonard Skinner and the Black Crowes, lots of that kind of stuff, that Southern rock stuff, Allman Brothers Band, but Steve Miller Band, lots of blues stuff, Stevie Ray, and I think via hearing a lot of this classic rock stuff is, when my father said, oh, well, if you dig this, here's where it comes from and you need to check this out. And then that's when I really dove deeply into the blues rabbit hole.
Yeah. Yeah. If you get that, if you start digging into the roots of rock, there you are, right in with the blues. So you had that roots, passion, interest, influence really early on. A lot of artists get to that later, but it sounds like that was part of your early learning and early influence.
Oh, big time. I mean, I was, just obsessed with blues music, when I was in like grade school and stuff. And it was so funny because a lot of my friends whom I'm still great friends with today, would almost sometimes, poke fun at me, like, what is this, this old man stuff you're listening to? They're all into Green Day and Linkin Park and, the bands of the rock bands of the time. And I would say the same thing. I'm like, what is this, crap you're listening to? And then it's funny that it's all come full circle, because we all just love all different genres and styles and types of music now. And so, but yeah, I was definitely kind of maybe the odd guy out as a child, listening, wanting to hear, early ZZ Top or Stevie Ray Vaughan or something over the Green Day stuff on the radio.
You mentioned James Taylor too, so when I heard that, I thought, wow, okay, so now I can kind of get an idea as far as your storytelling mastery. So the storytelling for you and the songwriting, did that start around the same time? Like, did the songwriting start to begin with the guitar playing and wanting to kind of put your own stories to music?
Well, I think naturally, when I was becoming comfortable enough with the instrument and playing out, I got curious about saying, well, I could do this. I could write a song. The songs that I was, I guess I would say, quote unquote, writing when I was 11 and stuff were not very good, because I didn't have any life experience, they were pretty much standard kind of, My Baby Left Me kind of blues songs, which I hadn't experienced that either.
Yeah, you were going off the stories of others.
Right, totally. And, but, I think that I've really gotten more comfortable with songwriting and maybe worked harder to be a better songwriter. Just in the last probably 6 or 7 years is when I've kind of really tried to hone in on that. So, and maybe one of these days I'll get it figured out.
Well, you seem to be doing a great job so far. And I was looking at your touring schedule from the beginning of the year. This year looks like you were in Germany, Austria, Switzerland for most of January and a good part of February. Is that right?
Yeah. That was a part of the Roof Records Blues Caravan tour that they have been doing for, from what I understand, 20 years now. This tour that we did starting out the year was the 20th anniversary, and we go back over in the fall too to do a second leg of the run. And I gotta say, it was a 10 out of 10 experience. I had never toured Europe before, which was a little bit surprising, given the kind of rock and blues genre. There's a market, a great market for it overseas. And so, yeah, we were over there kind of, hit the ground running, playing every single night for about a month straight early this year, and then came back for another about 3-week run here in the Southeast. So the year got off to quite the whirlwind of a start, but I love it. I feel super lucky that we're working and we're out playing, and hopefully maybe tricking a few people into liking the music along the way.
And it sounds like you're going to have a lot of songwriting material.
Well, I sure hope so. It's funny. I had an interview yesterday with a gentleman in Toronto, and we were kind of talking about the business end of things too. And I said, it's become such a DIY thing, especially post COVID, that I was like, I'm so glad that we got this record out here at the beginning of the year. And I was like, I guess I really need to force myself to get back into songwriting mode, because I've been so between the road and then kind of managing the logistical end of things I'm like, the days just kind of fly by, and next thing you know, we're 3 months into the year already. So
you're on a little break now.
I am, yeah. Well, so to speak.
Well, yeah. You're on a break from the tour.
Yes, a break from the road. Yeah.
And so you're back home in Bloomington.
I am, yes.
And what's the plan? Because it looks like you're going to be picking up again.
From here, we hit the Midwest for about a week in the spring, and then we do a brief stay in Florida again, and then actually currently been working with the team here to solidify a tour up the East Coast again. So maybe we'll be seeing you. It sounds like Asbury might be one of the stops.
Yes. Yep. We talked earlier about the first time I had ever seen you perform live was at Asbury Lanes a couple years ago, and on a lineup with 𝐿𝐴𝐵𝐴 Band and Billy Walton Band. And it was such a great surprise to hear your song Dancing in the Kitchen on B.B. King Bluesville. You want to talk about that one?
Yeah. Well, that was a great surprise for me too. I couldn't think of, as far as the new record goes. I mean, I not to sound like I'm by any stretch tooting my own horn, but I do feel like that song is a perfect fit for that station, and I'm super, super honored to be on there. And that song was, I got really lucky with that tune. And it's kind of a funny story how that one came about. I'm going to embarrass my wife a little bit on this one, but actually I don't know about embarrass. I think she really likes when I tell the story. But it was our anniversary, I think a couple of years ago, and she, we didn't have plans to go do any fancy dinner or anything like that. We'd been together long enough that that we don't need to do that kind of thing all the time. And so we were just going to stay in and hang out, listen to some records, maybe go get a little bottle of tequila or something.
Nice.
And just hang out, her and I. And she said to me earlier in that afternoon, she goes, well, just wouldn't it be so sweet tonight if we ended up dancing in the kitchen? And, I'm not much of a dancer by any stretch. So I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever, And then I think she had to go out and run some errands or something. And I was like, dancing in the kitchen. I was like, that's a song. And before she even had gotten home from, going to the grocery store or wherever it was that she was going, the song was completely written. Wow. And so I got really lucky. That was one of those ones that just kind of fell out of the sky and hit me over the head, and was just done in a matter of minutes. And I always love those. I feel like those are always the most genuine and special ones.
Yeah,
so
that speaks to the authenticity, and it has such a great, like a relaxed, laid back vibe to it.
Yeah, well, thank you. I was a big inspiration that I did forget to mention all throughout my life and still continues to be is Mr. 𝑘eb·mo.
Oh,
and so when I heard the phrase "dancing in the kitchen," not only did I think, oh, that sounds like a song, I was like, that sounds like a 𝑘eb·mo song. So I kind of was like, when we were in the studio laying it down, I was like, we should go for that vibe,
Absolutely.
That almost bluesy Americana, but with a hint of some jazz licks and stuff in there. And I got to say, the band and everybody just knocked it out of the park, and I was so happy with how that one turned out.
That's awesome. And so you said you were surprised too when you heard it on B.B. King Bluesville. So how does that happen? Do those songs get picked up by Bluesville on their own, or do the artists do you have to submit them, or?
That was something that the good folks over at the good folks at Roof Records accomplished.
Awesome.
For me, from what I understand, I kind of was hands off with the doing of that, but I'm so thrilled that, like we were chatting before we started recording here, and once I had heard that it got spun on there, I'm like, oh great. I'm like, thinking like, well, I'll be lucky if they spin it again. And then we've had people on this last tour that we just got off of that are coming to the shows going, hey, I didn't know who you were, but I heard this song Dancing in the Kitchen on Sirius, and that's why I'm here. And I'm like, wow, they're continuing to play it. That's just such a huge honor for me.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say it's been on a pretty good rotation. I hear it a couple times a day. I mean, I'm a Bluesville fanatic on Sirius XM. So yeah, it's always great to see and hear the artists that I've been following, their trajectory, and to see them getting the airplay that they deserve.
Well, thank you. It's a happy moment for me because, as you know, with a lot of the artists that you talk to, you know, it's a really tough job, and we work really, really hard to hopefully expose folks to our music. And so when something like that happens, it's just a beautiful little moment of payoff. So it's really cool.
Yeah, congratulations on that. And so that track is from your latest album that was released mid-January, One for the Ride. And so I want to talk a little bit more about that one. But before we get into that one, let's back up a little bit and let's go back to some earlier releases. One of the earlier releases that you talked about with me earlier before we started recording was you had released an EP called Shine On.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the background on Shine On. Like, where were you in your musical journey right before that started? Like, how did that release come about?
Well, to be honest, I think I was probably still maybe somewhat trying to figure out, for lack of better terms, you know, who I am as a writer and as a singer. You know, maybe I think I was still exploring and not 100% sure, I guess, on maybe not 100% confident on the direction, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Finding your voice, finding your
yeah.
path, your niche.
Yeah. So I would certainly say, you know, the one thing about that one is it's maybe a little more heavily guitar centric and maybe a little bit more blues, directly, you know, blues influence all the way throughout the record. But, you know, that one, I think it's tough because as artists, we always look at our most recent release as like the golden goose of what we've done so
right,
far.
Exactly.
So it's, you know, it's hard to go back and, but you know, looking back, that I still am very happy with that album, and we had a great experience recording a handful of those songs at a really killer studio down in Nashville called the Bomb Shelter, with a gentleman by the name of Andrea Tokic, which for folks who might not know him, he produced the first breakout Alabama Shakes record.
Oh, cool.
And so we recorded a handful of songs with him and to tape. So that was an amazing experience because I had never recorded to tape. You know, everything up till then we'd done digitally. And so it was a painstaking experience because, you know, the whole just punching in and copy paste kind of thing is a much, much harder process. So I remember just being exhausted with how many takes we did of each song. But it was so fun to get to kind of do it in that manner that, you know, that they would have been doing it in the 60s and 70s.
Oh, wow. So, yeah. What year was that?
That would have been 2016.
2016. Okay. And any highlights, any reflections on that EP, things that you learned that you now were going to take into your next release, which was a couple years later in 2019?
Yeah, I think that there's a small, I don't want to use the word regret because that's not the right word, but maybe thing that I would have learned from is to maybe be a little more prepared going into it. I felt once we got into the process of Shine On, I immediately was like, overwhelmed and like, maybe I'm not as prepared as I should be.
With the actual process?
Yes, and maybe felt a little rushed too. And then as opposed to the last two albums, we really allowed ourselves ample time to not only do the recording process, but I was much more prepared with having all the arrangements and everything for the songs more solidified before going in, and also having a good idea of what I was hoping for and expecting production wise. So
love it. Sounds like a great learning curve.
Yeah. And not only the music business, but I guess life is full of them, and
Sure.
we need them to get better. So
that led you up to Open Road, which was released in 2019. Do you want to talk about that one a little bit?
Sure. Yeah, that was the first record that I did kind of on my own without any input from management or anybody on the team, whether it was management, agents, people around. It was just me and my longtime drummer, Francis Valentino, who's a New Jersey native. Big shout out to Francis. We just went into what I call my home studio. It's not actually in my home. A great friend of mine has a warehouse here down the street from where I live, where we built a studio in it, and we just decided, let's just go do this by ourselves. Why do we need to have so many cooks in the kitchen, so to speak? And so that one was kind of the first album that I had ever really done where there was endless, I guess it felt kind of like endless inspiration. We would, I can't tell you how many, not all of the songs, but a handful of the tunes, we would record them and go, nope, that's not working. And we'd just scratch the whole thing and start over. And to me, that was really fun because we really got a chance to get everything exactly where we wanted. And by that time, I think I was also a little more focused on trying to write, more focused lyrically, I think, and not just musically. And
so those were all originals?
Yes. Yep. Those are all original tunes.
It sounds cool that you were, well, it's probably a nice luxury to have your own studio space where you were able to kind of work through some things. And then if you didn't like it, you know what, we're going to scratch that. Let's rework this one. When you're going in and paying for sessions, probably a lot different, right?
Yeah. Well, there's, there's financial crunches and time crunches. And sometimes I think that's good too. And we were actually even chatting about this the other day on the road. Maybe the next album would be time to try to go back into this, more of a corporate setting studio. Yeah. And see if it brings out something different. I don't know. Or maybe, this formula is working and we stick with this. But I like them both for different reasons, but this one really felt like we swung the door wide open and just kind of got free reign to do whatever the heck we wanted, which was
nice, really,
really fun for me. And I think, I don't want to speak for Francis, but I think it was really fun for him too, because there were so many of those, like the light bulb going off moments. And those are just equally as exciting as playing live.
Well, yeah, and that's like that creative energy. Those creative forces are kind of like set free. You can kind of let the creative forces run free and see where they're going to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And that happened many, many of times. And we also had many of days where we just were in there for hours and hours and hours, just beating the pavement over one little part on one little song, to where we'd have to go, we just got to step away and walk away from this and revisit it tomorrow, because it just ain't jiving, So
what are your highlights from Open Road? What are your favorite tracks, highlights?
Personally, believe it or not, it's the kind of the acoustic ballad on that album. that closes out the record, called "I Think of You," which is a song that I wrote, co-wrote, I should say, with a friend of mine, Greg Neville, in memory of my late father. That one, just because of that reason and the emotion behind it, really was a heavy tune, and was also was a song that I had written with Greg a long time ago, and just was not honestly able to record because I couldn't get through it, and it was just kind of too much of a heavy song to sing. And then I felt like it was finally the right time on Open Road, in my, I guess, humble opinion, that I think it was a beautiful way to close out the record. And so that's a standout track.
Sounds cathartic
for me. Yeah, absolutely.
So Open Road 2019, and then I guess that brought us into COVID, right?
That did, the dreaded COVID.
The dreaded COVID, when we were all kind of like forced to our rooms to
right. The years
to be
that
alone with our thoughts and our creativity and whatever else.
Right.
Our sickness.
Well, the years that I should have been writing about another 5 records, but for the first time in my life, chose to kind of, I don't think I was doing anything except for riding my motorcycle and going out fishing and stuff.
Yeah, so you really, you practiced the pause, and it sounds like you were out there in nature, kind of living life.
Yeah. But looking back, I was like, oh man, I had all that free time. I could have had 4 records done by then. Like, what was I thinking? But oh well, it was also nice to just hit the reset button. And of course, we artists had no idea what was going to happen. I was unsure whether I'd ever tour or play live again. Right. So.
Yep. And here you are with this big lineup of a tour, and so that brings us into the new release, "One for the Ride." We talked about the track on Bluesville, "Dancing in the Kitchen." So tell us lead us up to that, from the COVID into "One for the Ride."
Well, when things started to open up again, and we realized that we could go back out on the road and play and make a little money, I started writing again. Not really having any definitive plans of when we were going to record or release, or because we were still, even though we were going back out playing, it was still unsure what the restrictions were going to, we just still, it was a very strange world in the music business and for everyone. But I nevertheless started writing some tunes again. And after Open Road, where I felt like I had focused really heavily on maybe leaning into more of the singer-songwriter thing, I started to remember that I really just love rockin' and blues guitar too. And that's what sparked my interest from the time that I was, a child. And so I started writing songs more in that vein again, and more guitar centric, but also tried to find the balance of the songwriting and storytelling too. And then, as time went on, I realized, I had probably 15 songs, 16 songs, and some of them we had already demoed out just to kind of see where they would sit. And then we said, let's get in and just make another record. So we repeated the process with Open Road and did it at my home studio again. And it was a total blast. And we got to recruit some really fun guests to be on the record, which that was kind of amazing to me. And it was really, I have to say, this one has been by far my favorite record to have written and recorded and now released.
Well, it's 10 track album. 9 of the 10 are originals, and you've got a cover there, right?
We do.
I love the versatility on this one album. Like I love the varied sounds and styles on the one album. It's everything offers something slightly different, and I love the way it starts out with Rum Stumblin'.
Oh, well, thank you so much. Yeah, that
fiery guitar solo.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I had kind of gotten back in the mindset of, why, I love blues rock guitar and blazing guitar, and it doesn't have to be so metaphorical or deep all the time. And when it comes to lyrics, and let's just have a little fun too, and try to do some kind of feel good stuff. And in regard to the different kind of flavors and genres that are kind of throughout the record, I was actually being asked yesterday in an interview, that I was asked, well, is that kind of an issue? Is that a problem, or is the label or anybody in the team seeing that as a problem, that it's not? Because you listen to certain artists and they have a record that I guess the only one I can think of off the top of my head is, like, if you listen to an AC/DC album, every song sounds exactly how you would expect AC/DC to sound.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, if you listen to like a James Taylor record or a Doobie Brothers record or something, there's all sorts of different kind of genres that they're pulling from when it comes to inspiration with their song writing or arranging and stuff, instrumentation, and that really is fun for me, because I like blues, and I like country, and I like rock and roll and southern rock, and it hasn't scared too many people away yet. So
yeah. Well, and personally, I love that. I love that manner, that process when there's a variety of different sounds from the same artist on the same CD. And I'm wondering if even the way that the industry has changed now, if it's something that even fits even better now than maybe it did before. Or maybe it didn't fit before, and maybe it fits better now because it really gives, if you have something, a style or a sound that's kind of the same throughout all of the tracks on the song, somebody might listen to it and say, oh, wow, I really like this, and they love it, and then they love the whole album. Somebody might say they hear one song and they're like, I'm not so crazy about that one, but the rest of the songs kind of sound like that, so the whole album's out. I feel like when you really present a variety of your talent and your creativity and your style, you're really opening up your listeners to a larger part of yourself.
Well, that's certainly the hope. And my kind of hope and thinking with One for the Ride was that it's hopefully takes folks on kind of a musical journey in that way, and maybe like a musical roller coaster. There's it's not, if you're just going down the roller coaster at 100 miles an hour all the time,
right,
eventually the excitement of that is going to wear off. Or if you're just slowly climbing the whole time, the anticipation of that is going to wear off too. So if it can kind of have the push and pull, then that's always something I enjoy when I listen to records. And I guess, all I can really do is write and sing and play whatever just comes naturally. And so I never try to, especially with this one, I wasn't trying to force anything. We just had a batch of songs, and we picked 10 that we thought fit together the best. And there was some songs in the running that were really quite different than anything I had done, and that they didn't make the record, but they might make an appearance at some point in my life. But that leaned more into like acoustic pop type stuff, which was very different. But we had the song, and we had the hankering to record it, and so we did, and got it out of our system, I guess.
Love it. So I always joke around. I'm a liner note geek. I love having a physical copy of an album or a CD or whatever, cassette even. I mean, I still have some old cassettes. Let's run through a quick track listing, and you can just say a statement or whatever you want to say about each of the tracks. We talked about Rum Stumbling, which is track number 1. Starts off with that fiery guitar solo, nice heavy groove. You want to say anything else about Rum Stumbling? And I see that you've got a video out for that one.
Yeah, we do. That one was exciting for me because from the get-go, I was hearing horns on it, and so we were able to achieve that. I didn't know the likeliness of achieving it, but I called our friend who plays saxophone with the Doobie Brothers and also was a longtime member of the Yellow Jackets.
Oh, yeah, nice.
And I said, I'm hearing horns on a couple tunes. Would you be willing to write the parts and play sax and maybe recruit some other guys to do trombone, trumpet, stuff like that? And I'm thinking, this guy's a Doobie Brother. He's probably going to say, yeah, sounds fun, but I'm too busy. And he couldn't have been more excited to do it. And we had so many fun evenings, awesome. Just like chatting back and forth about getting these tracks together and stuff. So that was a really special thing for that tune in particular.
For Rum Stumbling. So then Born Behind the Wheel, it's got a Southern rock vibe to it.
Yeah. That one was that guitar riff, that main guitar riff in there, the rhythm part I had for years and years and would just like sound check with it or something. I knew that I liked it. And actually Francis Valentino, who produced the last 2 albums with me and again has been my longtime drummer, would always say like, man, you got to do something with that. You got to do something. There's something to that guitar part. And so finally, one night while we were on the road, I think I was in Greenville, South Carolina, decided to just sit in the hotel room and knock that one out and kind of tried to go for, the Southern rock, on the road kind of tale with that one.
Yeah. And so after that, we've got Barely Livin', kind of slows the pace down a little bit, kind of a country vibe.
Yeah. Barely Livin' was one that was written during the old dreaded COVID years. That was
it's one of the COVID tracks.
That's one of the COVID tracks. Yeah. When we all kind of felt like we were barely living at times, and the fun that I do have a lot of fun memories of recording that one and trying different production ideas, in particular with the drums, and almost trying to recreate some ideas that we had heard on like early 80s Tom Petty records and stuff. So that was fun.
Dancing in the Kitchen was the next track. We talked about that. And Ballad of Jesse Ed Davis.
Yeah. So for folks who don't know, Jesse Ed Davis is a very, I guess, revered guitar player in the guitar world. He was longtime guitarist for Taj Mahal and was a big inspiration on Duane Allman, as history tells it. But also he played with Clapton and George Harrison and kind of one of those like, I guess for lack of better terms, unsung heroes of the guitar world, not, because people can talk about Stevie Ray or whatever, and everyone knows who he is. But if someone brings up Jesse Ed Davis, it's not as of a household name. But we kind of we had the lyrics to that one. That was a funny case of the lyrics came first.
Oh, okay.
A friend of mine, Jeff Paxton, and I wrote those, and then kind of put the music around it, and almost, it started as almost like a tongue-in-cheek thing, and then ended up being kind of this heavy,
it's almost
psychedelic sounding,
like a psychedelic tribute.
Yeah, kind of that. And when we finished, we were like, oh, well, we didn't expect it to go that direction, but it's really cool. Let's keep it,
Next up is Don't Be a Stranger.
Oh, that was another COVID writing session.
Uh-huh.
I was driving around one day, and at this time I was living in Middle Tennessee in the Nashville area, and of course we were all wondering what was going to happen and stuff. But one of those that, again, the lyrics had come to me before the music. And I don't. It's funny when that happens. You know, it's tough to sometimes put music to the lyrics, but I got lucky with that one. It fell together pretty quickly, and I personally, that's one of my, even though it's a slower ballad type song, that's one of my favorites on the album.
Cool. Rather Float a River.
Yeah, that's just a kind of one that again started maybe a little tongue in cheek, and but also as I was speaking on earlier, I'm a big outdoorsman. Grew up canoeing and kayaking and fishing and always being outside, camping, stuff like that. So that was just kind of almost one of those just fun-loving songs that we, I decided that would be fun if we gave it maybe a little kind of funky southern rock type flair to it.
Yeah, being a kayaker or nature lover too, that one definitely has that vibe to it, and like you said, with a kind of funky, adds that funky element to it.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites to play live because man, when the rhythm section is locking in on that, it's just such a fun groove, and I mean, of course I'm biased, but that's another standout on the record for me as well.
Nice. Brings us to Brand New Day.
Yeah, that one's funny. That's a song that I had written a long time ago, well over 10 years ago, and just never found the right way to put the arrangement together to where it was gonna work in an album. I thought, well, maybe it could work if we did like an all acoustic album, or more of if I just sang and played by myself type album. But we worked it up for this, and once we kind of got basic tracks going, we realized that it was probably gonna fit somewhere in there. And again, it's a little different genre wise, I guess, than some of the other stuff on there. It certainly draws from more of the Americana country influence, and a little bit of some of the like Garth Hudson from the band with the accordion stuff in there. But that was one that just sat around collecting dust for years and years and years, and so we decided to kind of try breaking it back out.
Well, it's funny. It's because it's kind of symbolic, just not only the title, but the way you're describing it now. It's kind of like you guys revived this song that had been written 10 years prior, and now the universe is like, it's time for its revival. Here it is.
Yeah, and it worked out really
Brand New
well.
Day.
And we got lucky with how it fell together, and again, all the players on that just knocked it out of the park, and I was really thrilled with how that one turned out.
And then the next one is the one cover song, Whiskey Rock a Roller.
Yeah, that's an old Skinnerd song. Yeah. And that one, maybe about a year and a half ago or so, we started playing it live, just because every now and then we throw a handful of covers in the set, just to give some folks something maybe that they can more easily latch on to.
Sure.
For whatever reason. Also, there's a lot of artists and bands that we want to cover because they have great stuff. And but we started playing that, and especially like at festivals and stuff, people would be coming up to the merch booth and going, "Hey, what record of yours is Whiskey Rock and Roller on? That song was great." I go, "It's not on any of them. I didn't write the song, But I started thinking, like, how cool that people think I wrote this song. And so we have to record it and just see if it works. And
isn't that a great compliment when you take a cover, somebody may not recognize the cover, but they love the way your band made it sound, and it's like you made it your own, or it sounded authentically your own, and it's like, hey, what album
that
was
was
on? And it's like, oh yeah, that's not mine. Yeah,
right. Well, that was always a super huge compliment, and of course we had the handful of diehard Skynyrd fans that would come up
Sure.
and, and say, "Oh man, that's so badass that you guys played that." But, that was one that we really did try to take in our own direction. I actually hadn't listened to the original Skynyrd version in like years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so it was funny, actually, maybe, I don't know, it was a couple weeks before we left on the Europe tour. My wife had never even heard ever the original Skynyrd version. She's like, "Oh, I want to hear it. Let's put it on. I want to A/B the two." And I started listening. I was like, wow. I was like, ours really doesn't sound it. I mean, it's got the bones, the skeleton of the original, but I was like, we really did branch off.
Yeah, no, you guys definitely made it your own.
So that was fun for sure.
way.
And then of course we had brother Mark Russo lay down the horn parts on that one again too. So it was cool.
So the last one on that album is The Rambling Kind.
Mm-hmm.
That one, talk about, you talked about the album being on maybe taking the listener on a little bit of a roller coaster ride. I feel like this song on its own is kind of a little bit of a roller coaster. Kind of starts out on the acoustic, got a very high emotional intensity to it, blazing solo, and then kind of back to the acoustic.
Right. Well, that was one that I had that like chord progression that I was just playing over and over again, and I think it started as kind of like just almost like a warm up thing, the way the chords flowed together, and I started thinking, wow, this is cool. This is interesting sounding chord progression, and then started writing lyrics to it. And at the time we were touring really heavily. I believe this was maybe in 24. And we were like gone almost the entire year. This might have been the year that we played Asbury Lanes and saw you.
Mm-hmm.
But we were, it was just a very, very busy year. And I heard actually a Warren Haynes song where in the song, I can't remember which song it was, but in the song he said something about, they say write about what you know. So something, to the extent of write about what you know, and I know about being on the road. So that's what and so I was like, oh, maybe, as if I don't already have enough road songs, but I was kind of the whole time had my mind in the place of like, what would Bob Seger do to this one?
Nice.
And so I was kind of hearing that mid-tempo ballad with the just big stadium rock almost outro on the end. So, that's kind of what we went for, and it turned out that it worked out really well for a closer for the record.
Definitely. So those are the tracks. One for the Ride is the album by Matthew 𝐾𝐿, latest release from January 2026. Matt, do you want to talk a little bit about the players on this album?
Yeah, would love to. On bass, we've got my longtime friend and bass player now of 13 years, Mr. Tim Brickner from Peoria, Illinois. Tim's, if not the best bass player I know, one of the greatest bass players I know, and also just a fabulous musician in person as well. And him and I have got a lot of history playing together. And then, of course, we've got Francis Valentino on drums, along with some of the vocal harmonies as well. And Francis also co-produced the record with me.
Jersey boy, right?
Yeah, yep, from Red Bank,
yep.
New Jersey. So, and then also from Bradley Beach, New Jersey, we have Mark Maysfield on some of the tracks playing piano and Hammond B3.
Nice.
And Mark is from as far as I can tell, kind of one of the hometown heroes there in the Asbury scene. And Mark did a stint with us on the road. I want to say probably right around the time that we were recording and touring on the Shine On EP. So probably 2016, 17, maybe a little bit into 18. And he still, records with us and sometimes comes out on some shows when he can. So love Mark. He's become a dear friend too. We also have Grace Quackenboss on keys on a couple songs, and she was a new person that I just met recently through a lot of these New Jersey connections and band family that I have. She's a young gal from Jersey as well, but recently made the move to Nashville, and just wonderful piano player and harmony singer. So we had her do some piano parts. And I'm trying to think. We had we had a lot of different keyboard players. We had Rob Arthur from Mr. Peter Frampton's band.
Nice.
Play B3 on I think about 5 or 6 of the songs, and that was again just a huge honor to have him. Again, I called him kind of not knowing what to expect, whether he would be into it or not. And, he was super happy to do it, and he just, exceeded. I knew that he was going to knock it out of the park, but when we got the tracks from him, I was just totally floored. And then who else? I'm missing. I mentioned Mark Russo played sax and arranged all the horn parts, and recruited some of the other gentlemen who played trombone and trumpet, and I think that's about it. I did all the guitar stuff, or tried to, anyway, and then put all my wannabe singer vocals on there, and then we sent it out.
Nice, fantastic. So busy. So you're on a little reprieve now from touring. You're back in Bloomington. So tell us, what do you have planned for the next few weeks, and when does the tour pick back up, and where?
For the next few weeks, I'm catching up on a lot of business stuff. The exciting stuff of the music business, but and between that, now that it's getting a little nicer here too, I think I'll be out probably doing a lot of fishing, getting
Nice.
Unwinding a little bit, and just spending time with the wife and family and stuff, and but also gonna take some time to start kind of opening up the old songbook here again as well, and getting back in that headspace, and start looking towards some ideas for the next one. Besides that, I've got a handful of solo shows here in the Midwest coming up in April, which is always interesting. I really do. I like playing with the band more, I think, because I have other musicians to feed off of, I guess. But I really love doing the solo thing lately too, because it allows me a chance to kind of let these songs shine in a different light, and more, at their bare bones level.
Yeah, they can breathe almost, right? It's like letting.
Yeah, and maybe get to talk about them a little bit and stuff. So those would be fun. And then in May, head back out throughout the Midwest with the band, and down to the Southeast for a short stint in early June. And then, as I mentioned, we're kind of solidifying everything here for an East Coast tour through mid to late June. And that's kind of the schedule.
Fantastic.
Right now, so.
Well, we hope to see you here at the Jersey Shore back again. Matt, I want to thank you for coming on today and talking about your music, your musical journey. One for the Ride is the new album on all the platforms. Tour coming up. Look out for Matthew Curry on the road. Matt, thanks again, and we hope you'll come back on again.
Yeah. No, thank you so much for having me on. It was a real pleasure to chat with you, and I'll certainly keep you posted on what happens here on this East Coast run. It's looking, I can't say for sure yet, of course, but it's sure looking like Asbury is going to be a stop, and that's always kind of as you mentioned, a family affair for us. So that'll be a very fun night. So
love it. Good luck with all of it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, my friend.
We'll talk to you soon.
Hey, bring me that martini shot.